reservation?
Yes, I was born on that reservation, and I lived there, I guess, till I was about 6 years old. And I believe, let's see, 6, 7, I'm not too sure. We didn't keep the ages too accurate. Some of them were carved out on the trees, and somebody cut the trees down, and it's lost. So, but it was around between 6 and 8 years old when I left. My family had broken up. My father and mother had separated, and father, I guess, had to travel so much. There was not. So what happened is I went from lived with my aunts. I'd stay with one family for a little while. They'd get tired of us, whether it be a month, sometimes 2 weeks, because they'd have big families of their own. And it wasn't too easy raising families on a reservation, so there was me and my sister. That didn't help much, so naturally another one would take us for a while. Finally, I ended up with my grandfather, and I guess I learned so much from him because he's one of the ones that, on account of him, that I can hate people, non-Indians, white people, whatever you'd say. I couldn't hate him because he always made it a strict rule that we respect another human being. And that's the way he always was. The French were so prejudiced towards us, but they'd have what they call peddlers, and just Frenchmen traveling. They'd come through the reservation, and they'd stop, and they'd come and ask, and in houses, I guess they were hungry enough for. But the first thing my grandmother would do is get some food to feed him. And whether he could speak English or Indian, he couldn't. Usually they'd speak French, and my grandfather could speak, but they'd feed him first. Then they had any warm clothing to give him, they'd give it to him. Even though we needed it, but that's what I learned. You don't ask who that man is. It's a human being. That's what we remember. Indians were never wild or savage. They were always very peaceful people. If you remember this time when you go to celebrate Thanksgiving, these pilgrims, they didn't know how to survive. It was in the winter. It's becoming winter. And the Indians met them. They fed them. They seen these people needed help. They didn't go and ask them, what are you? What nationality are you? Why is your skin white? Why don't you look like us? No, they seen that these people needed help. They needed food, and they took care of them. They fed them throughout the whole winter. So I'd ask him, now, do you think a savage would do such a thing? Or somebody that would go kill people? He says, my people wanted to help. They did. But I says, within 2 years' time, that whole tribe was practically wiped out by the same people that came over there. We can exist, and people could be existing for an awful long time. But if you get trapped in his way, then you're lost same as he is, because he's brought air pollution. He's brought, my gosh, the ecologists are saying they only give them, the white man, another 30 years to live on this earth.
Indians all over the United
right.
States working together.
Yes, well, we're uniting. And what we wanted to do for our people, to have Indian centers in the cities. Because what's been happening, there's been young Indian fellows would hear on a reservation, well, gee, they tell you there's a work for everybody in a city. Maybe 1 or 2 Indians would go in there and they'd do good, they'd get a job. So be others would follow. But in the meantime, they don't know their way around in a city. They never been around there, and they don't know how to go about getting a job, and they don't know where to meet other Indians. The city's so big, they're alone, and some end up on a skid row. They become alcoholics, and people look down on them. Sometimes even their own people don't understand why it happened. So we try to tell them these Indians had good intentions. They wanted to come into the cities to work so they could support themselves, and not like what people says, well, Indians are just lazy. They're no good workers. They're all they can do is drink, but that isn't what they want. They come into the cities so they could get jobs. What happens is they don't know how to get in touch with other Indians to get help or anybody, or they don't even know anything about employment agencies. So they run into trouble, and they don't have no money to get back.
Now, those things didn't happen to you. You're on the street coming from your job, dressing like the other people do?
There was a time when I had to, like say when I was in school, and they made sure they cut your hair right down to the skin. And we always believed the people that, I mean, it's a most normal thing, most reservations. In fact, out west, I know around North Dakota, was up there's plenty of Indians with long hair. It was nothing. In fact, they have an awful lot of respect for Indian with long hair. They know his way of thinking. If they see an Indian with a crew cut, that man is no good. He doesn't think right. He doesn't think like an Indian. Doesn't have the same understanding.
Indians and their social awareness of demanding the things that they think are justifiably theirs. There have been categories of Indians, the militants, the more progressive, the traditionalists. Which of the three would you fit into? Which three categories?
Well, the Indians have never believed in violence. We've always tried to avoid it, and the first one, when it first started off, was Alcatraz. And the Indians prided themselves there and were proud. There was nobody hurt. They didn't hurt nobody. None of their people was hurt. There was no weapons on them or anything. In fact, they got a letter of recognition from one of the caretakers on the island at that time that was sent to the governor there in California. Looking back into their records, maybe this Indian broke a window sometime or another, and he'd gotten a record for that or something. Well, they'll find that. If you got a record of any kind, they've been picking up Indians all over. Any Indians that's more or less could be leaders in something, they'd pick them up to get them out of the mainstream, to stop it.
Deliberately?
Yes, see, and they'd on trumped-up charges, anything to stop it, and they've been more or less keeping the Indian, trying to keep us down. We don't get much into the news media. It's just lately that we've had a chance to get in the news media. And that's what we've been trying to do, to avoid any violence, that we would be pressured in any way that we would have to resort to violence.
Now, you say Indians are becoming more unified. What's taken them so long?
Actually, it's not that it's taken us so long. We've been that way so long all the time, but it's just that they've had our reservations that spread over such a wide area. And it's not too easy to, like, say...
okay.
You talked about the territory. Is it true that you're looking for an island that you want to know?
Roger, what is there about the faces of many Indians, like your wife's portraits here of the faces of Indians, even your own? What do you think about when you see these pictures here, and the pictures of, say, your father and your grandfather, their faces?
Well, I know it's actually a story in each one of their faces to me. Take Geronimo's here. I mean, that's a pretty hurt feeling he's got on there. And I know what it is. That's from when they wiped out his family, when he was out hunting and he came back. And kids misunderstand that story about Geronimo. They think Geronimo was a vicious, savage killer. But when I usually tell them at schools, I give lectures or where I put on a dance for them, and then I explain to them that this man was no such thing, a savage. What happened to him is he come back from hunting, and the only one, his son was with him that wasn't wiped out, but his wife, I forget how many kids he had, but they were all wiped out, killed.
And what about that face?
Well, this, we don't know this Indian. It's just, I just love to look at it because there is a story in each one. But this we got from a postcard we got from the reservation, and my wife painted that. But then we have Wolf Robe. That is also but it shows an awful lot. It's got a lot of wisdom there. Same as Sitting Bull. He was a great man. And we also have Joseph. He was another great one, but they never tell stories that way about our leaders. We had great leaders, and in the beginning, none of them were for violence. They all tried to have, they didn't want to see their people killed or hurt, but it was forced on them because the intentions of that man, this man is a nuisance to us. We want this oil, this gold, and we want all this land for our raising cattle, and they're just in a way. They don't do nothing. These Indians aren't good for anything, so we've got to do away with them.
And if someone were to paint your face, what experiences, what things would they find there?
Well, I don't know I never look much at my own face, but I know it keeps jumping back and forth to when I was a child and now, because I said, gee, I thought I got away from these things when I was a kid. When I was in that government school, I had to take it. I didn't have no alternative. When these teachers, when I'd have to do this and when I'd have to listen to what they had to tell me about my people, my parents, and my religion, that I wasn't supposed to use my Indian language. I was supposed to become like the white man, intelligent. They had my hair shaved off. And I look back, and then I come back to this day. We could be trying something. We're trying so hard to go about it in the...
Say that Indians now are unified, but what has taken them so long to have this unity?
Well, the same thing that's been keeping us down and from helping ourselves is the government, the white man. We have what they call the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and that's been one of their jobs, to keep the Indians down. In fact, their jobs is to completely do away with the Indians. And back in the 1800s, where they tried to massacre the whole village to wipe them out, now they have more modern ways of doing it. It's called termination, assimilation. But they figured if we can get these Indians off the reservation and get them into the mainstream of life, before you know it, you assimilate, you're in there, and it wouldn't be long before the only time you'd hear of an Indian or see an Indian would be in history books. But this is what the public doesn't know. The Indians do want to stay on a reservation. We want to keep it. In fact, here we have what they call a Declaration of Independence that we just brought out to show the people. The Iroquois nation we consider ourselves a nation within a nation. And our passports has been respected going through other countries, the Indian passport, see? And, but the public has been misinformed. They believe that, oh, the Indians, it's so bad on a reservation, they want to get off of there and get into the cities because the Bureau of Indian Affairs has made sure that we're not heard. They're supposed to speak for us, but the whole Bureau of Indian Affairs, everyone that's working in there's, it's all run by white people. And they don't know nothing about Indians or try to understand anything about Indians. So it's very easy for the few in there that's ahead of the whole thing to work it just whatever way they want.
Well, who would you say now speaks for the Indians?
Well, there's no one in particular that we more or less, anybody that gets a chance, whether it's through the papers, the TV, we try to reach the public to let them know of our problems right here now today. They'll have us give lectures where they want you to read a statement going back to maybe 1814 or something, where this massacre will happen there. Well, we want to let the people know what's happening now, because by letting the people know, the public know what's happening to the Indians, we feel then the government is going to take the pressure off the Indians. But as long as the public doesn't know, and this Bureau of Indian Affairs can run things the way they want, and up in Washington, in fact, Seattle, Washington is one of the worst places right now on Indians. They are having one heck of a time. They just as soon as shoot an Indian than to come up and ask him why did he do this or did he get into trouble or anything. They just as soon as shoot him.
Roger, we talked about, we mentioned the word assimilation. Now, you're doing some modeling. In a sense, aren't you adapting to the white man's ways? What does modeling mean to you?
More or less, rather than adapting, I'm going to take advantage of it, and if I can, this is another thing that we've been trying to do.
What are you telling? And can you describe something about the dancing that you do?
Well, what it's been most of the time, it's we couldn't do too much to get across to people in just the dancing alone. What I've been doing is I've had 3 different numbers I do. One was what their favorite is, what they call the war dance. The people go for that. But we call it the fancy dance now because it's used in contests. Then I also do the eagle dance, and then I do a fire dance, which is not done in Indian. It's I dance to the record, the regular fire dance by Fala, I believe it's the regular fire dance, and with the fire pots and everything. I just want to show them we can do other things. We're capable of doing other things instead of just, they think we put on our beads and our feathers, and that's the only way we can get out there and dance, or but otherwise.
Why do you have in your Thunderbird group non-Indians dancing, becoming bitter about people who try to be more Indian, who are not Indian? Then you had to join a union to do the kind of work you do. What kind of reception did you get when you applied to the union?
Well, the time I went in, I was 15 years old at the time, and it wasn't too hard in getting in the union at all. It was, they needed men at the time. There wasn't too many men available for steel work, so it wasn't too hard for me at the time to get in. That was in his early 50s at the time, and so I didn't have much trouble. And getting in there, and more or less, I usually serve, now I believe they have 2-3 years apprenticeship you have to serve. Well, at that time, if you could, within a few weeks, if you could prove yourself as a good climber and not dangerous when you get up on top, well, you've got the job as a journeyman from apprentice, and they give you the full scale. So I was fortunate at that time. It wasn't hard to get in a union.
You had troubles now as a youngster in school. What about your own children, being that their father is Indian? What kind of talk about our way of life? How would you describe simply the spirit of an Indian, of yourself, that makes you different than the ones you call he?
Well, I know back on a reservation, we certainly don't want to change things. I don't want to dig up all the trees and put concrete over everything and the roads and have factories and have everything fenced in. I like freedom. I like a lot of room, a lot of space. You can relax, look. You can exercise your eyes, look as far as you can. The mountains, the trees, and it's relaxing. And you're satisfied. You're not, if we get up during the day, we're content with what we have for the day. We don't look so far ahead. We can thank our Creator for the day to help us through the day, and we're satisfied.
How do you feel really being part then of building these concrete things that you say people don't want in the reservations? How do you feel about making those very same things that you don't
Well, there's
do at home with your children to maintain your Indian heritage?
well, it's what it's been here with my boy. We've been quite active in different Indian movements where Indians need help, and we always want to get involved and help. We're quite concerned with what's happening with Indians every place.
How do you make your home on the reservation?
Well, there's nothing on the reservation actually or anywhere close by where you could say you could travel back and forth from the reservation to your job. There's nothing there to say, well, as far as hunting goes, forget it, because when they put us on reservations, they made sure it wasn't a land that the land was real fertile, that you could become farmers. We weren't that crazy about farming, but even if we did work at it, it was very hard work. We had to take an awful lot of rocks out of the field before we could get anywhere near to start. Got good. This is when you start getting better, huh?
Yeah.
That's good. And the stars. Wow. Look at that. Another star. Yeah. Another one. Was this part of your homework?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Okay. Oh, this was part of your homework too, huh?
Yeah.
What's this? What does that say? Oh, that's about the Pit River Indian children. Oh, yeah, that's part of your homework. Outside of jail before earlier. Freeing of 34 Indians. Uh-huh. Wow. Well, you've been doing pretty good right along, huh? What did you do? Did you do any today? Just today? Was this it?
I did that usually, but I didn't go to school today. Mom didn't, my stockings were washed.
Oh, you had to help Mommy out? Huh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah? Help her with the housework? Yeah, what did you do?
Yeah. We already heard what Daddy said, so we want you to talk.
Let's see. This was part of your homework, huh?
Yeah.
When did you have to bring that in?
No, I forgot.
Hmm? All right, then. When was the last day you had, yesterday's? This was yesterday's work, right? You got a star for that?
What?
Was this it?
Yeah, that's just it.
This one.
I just remember because I couldn't go to school.
Yeah, but you remember, can you tell me why I told you that it's important to go to school and learn? Say it out loud. So, you get along good with your teacher too then, huh?
Some homework, I wrote my name messy because I forgot to tell Mom. I forgot to sign my homework, write my name.
Was this one of them?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. So that's...
It was good, but I couldn't get a star for it.
I see. Why was it? Because you didn't,
Because that, we were in the rush and I forgot to do the other side, so then right when we were going home to stay, I forgot to nurse, I forgot to do it.
Oh, wow. Oh, well, that happens. See? But you made up for it. See there? That's the next day. And here's another one back here. But this was good. This was from the beginning then, huh?
Yeah.
You got better real fast. You see the difference?
Yeah.
Look at there, huh? See what I mean? It's a lot more fun. I bet you enjoy doing your homework too more now, huh? You don't mind doing it now, do you?
No.
That's right.
Is it time for bed? You have to go?
Well, it's getting pretty late, huh? You don't mind going to bed now? I gotta get up real early. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, we go to bed. Give me a kiss.
That's the girl.
That's it.
Yeah, good.